found that in regards to identity, the three things that coming into being an Israelite and, in joining in the conscious community, I realized there was three common things that every school of thought that is in these communities try to accomplish in some way, shape, or form. And this is something I've always teach, and I've always shared, but I think is very prevalent in regards to this discussion or just overall. The first thing is, once you're conscious, the first step is identity. Who are you?
Right.
What are you? Where did you come from? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That is the first stage of consciousness. Is what's called self-awareness. I don't know if anybody here has watched various movies where AI is developed. And when AI is developed, how do you know that AI can replicate a human being in an organic fashion? How? Only way that can be possible is the AI is self-aware. There's been a movie that came out called Transcendence. All right, Transcendence is a movie in which there was this professor who, was shot or poisoned, you know what I'm saying, at an attempted assassination, and he winds up dying. But before he dies, he creates this machine, and they transfer his consciousness to the machine. And when they transfer his consciousness to the machine, the only way that they could tell that he is who he says he is and he's not artificial intelligence is for him to be aware of self. The awareness of self is the only true way to identify what you are, where you came from, who you are, why you are the way you are, etc. And this is the first and probably the most important phase when we enter into consciousness, is that of self-awareness. Who are we in the general scope of society? Who are we in the spiritual fabric that we are all interwoven and connected to? Where do we come from? What is our source of origin? You know what I'm saying? Do we intend to repatriate? Do we intend to repair our condition? Why? Because we're an identity of people who have been robbed from our historical continuity, from our verbal acuity to convey who we are, what we are, where we came from our cognitive, formalities in regards to where did this consciousness come from? Why am I woken up? Is there another presence? Are there ancestors? Is there a creator that caused me to be distinct and unique from the rest of my family members who are still asleep? Why did this happen to me? And if so, what is my obligation to my community? So identity is the most fundamental, foundational principle and preset when it comes to consciousness. The second stage or the second phase is that of oppression. What is the opposing force? What is the antithesis to the thesis that I'm presenting of identity? What is this entity that is oppressing me, that is suppressing me, that is trying to hide and deceive me, and why? What are they so afraid of? It is something that is engraved into my DNA that causes me to tick and be who I am, that is causing them to be utterly afraid, that they want my genocide, that they want my control. Who is this oppressor? Who put that oppressor there? Why is that oppressor in power? If I am great by virtue of my inherent identity, then how this oppressor usurped that greatness? What is this force? Who are they? How do we identify them? That is the second phase. And the last phase, which is the most important phase, is that of a solution. How do we fix this problem of the thesis and antithesis to create the synthesis? How do we do this? Where do we start? And the problem that I've noticed a lot in these communities is that we only deal with the first two. Everybody wants to project hatred of things that they wrestle with internally on an opposing force. But they never want to provide the solution, so that way there's a way to stabilize and or catalyze the condition that we're currently in. Solution is the most important thing that we need to orient ourselves on, because it is only when we have common solutions to the problems and social ills that we encounter each and every day. And I said this before on another radio show. I said sometimes it's unfortunate that probably will not happen until we are all at a point of utter extinction, when there is martial law, when there are soldiers that are marching into our communities with guns and taking us out of our homes and raiding what we have and stealing our property. It's only at that point, unfortunately, for us as a people, that we will band together and put aside our differences and fight hand in hand, back to back with one another to overthrow this oppressor. But you see, we have the advantage now. We have the leverage now as we focus on solutions. So when we talk about the core of RBG, it is a solution-oriented ideology. It is not about individualism. It is about the common unity of the whole. And this is the most important premise that has been put forth by Marcus Garvey. And again, this essence resonates in the conscious community when we analyze this three-step phases to consciousness. All right, and I say this because this is very, very important, and I hope if nobody got anything else to understand that we have not abandoned what it is that we subscribe to, but we are willing to look at the bigger picture and say, what is the pieces that are missing? Instead of focusing on the parts of the picture that attract us the most, we're missing the other pieces that tell us the wider story. And this is why solutions is the most important thing, but that can only happen through cultural reorientation. So I just wanted to put that out there just as a golden nugget, so that way if we don't go home with anything else, at least hopefully we can remember those three things in regards to consciousness and see why the RBG ideology is so pertinent and important and should be the most prominent thing in regards to all of our conscious communities to work together to fix problems. And I think that we are making strides. And regardless of the adversity, personal attacks, we are making strides. So we have to give thanks to those who are actually giving us a voice to put this information out so that way they can see that all of us are not about separatism from one another, maybe from the opposing system in regards to autonomy, but with each other. We're willing to put things aside to work together. And with that, I'll hand it back over to you, my brother Knowledge One.